Hey everybody, before we start the show, just a quick note from our partner sharkscope.com. Do you play online poker at one or more sites? Want to find out what your real profit and ROI numbers are? Once you register, Sharkscope gives you up to 10 free searches a day. So go ahead, head on over to sharkscope.com and put your screen name in the player statistics section. If you've opted in, all your stats will appear. If you haven't, you'll get a snapshot of your stats. Looking to combine all your screen names into a group and see where you really stand for as little as $10 a month, you can access these advanced features. Sharkscope, the best for over 10 years. Track your statistics, avoid the sharks, and find easier tournaments at sharkscope.com. Welcome to the 2+2 Pokercast presented by runitonce.com. This is Pokercast 430. It is September 23rd, 2016. We're back for another episode this week. We've got an interview, Terrence. First of all, I'll introduce you guys. Terrence Chan, my trusty co-host, and Roscoe P. Coltrane. How are you guys?
180!
Good. I mean, Adam, I'm just sitting around the house tonight with my dog. I felt like I should be doing something important, but I couldn't put my finger on it.
Phil Kessel. Nice. That was a great tweet as the U.S. got beat by Canada.
I mean, is it offsides? I mean, so for those who don't follow the old puck, the World Cup of Hockey, the tournament nobody cares about, is going on right now. It's still fun. We just wiped the floor with the Americans. Phil Kessel, one of the best players in the United States, was inexplicably left. Daniel Negreanu's buddy, bringing this back full circle, was inexplicably left off the team despite being the number one scorer in the NHL playoffs this year from entry, and just disses the people who left him off the team. But is it a bit offside considering the other 22 dudes are supposed to be your buddies and your teammates?
Yeah, and I think that's the point. I don't think Kessel was trying to take a shot at the people that were chosen for the U.S.
Clearly, but isn't it kicking you when you're down?
But they're going to take it like that, right? So
yeah,
I think some of the guys said, we're going to remember that tweet, that we're on the team and stuff. And it's like, what are you talking about? He's just basically taking a shot at the organizers. But yeah, it was kind of funny. I had a good kick out of it. Terrence, I'm talking to the 10th ranked flyweight in Canada in MMA. Is that correct?
I believe you're correct, according to Tapology.com.
Tapology.com. They have some kind of advanced algorithm to figure out exactly who is
I don't know how
top 10.
It's some weird proprietary system. I'm sure involves some sort of algebra and math or something like that. They just kind of take people and throw them in a blender.
There's definitely a regression model involved.
Oh yeah,
it's probably a regression model involved. I mean, the guys I've beaten, so there are guys ahead of me in the standings who are only 2-0, but presumably they've beaten guys with better records and might be some sort of slow or chess system. But yeah, I woke up in the morning and had my alert, and I was like, oh, I made the top 10.
That's pretty cool, right? That's a pretty cool moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't think there's that many of us. I think like we talked about last week, there's not that many 125ers or guys who can make 125, but it's nice to be it's nice to break the top 10. Top 10 feels good.
That's good. I like that a lot.
That'll get you probably get some attention from fight promoters. I would think maybe you'll get some more offers coming down the line to fight. That'll be pretty cool. So today we're going to do an interview show. We've got William Kassou, of course, who we talked about, the Brit, who was on the World Series of Poker ESPN coverage from last week. Had the run-in with Jack Effel, the table talk guy. So we've brought him in, managed to track him down. He's going to do an interview with us, talk about what happened, and talk about speech play in general or table talk. But first, we're going to take a quick break. Coming up right after this, we're going to talk to William Kassou. You're listening to the 2+2 Pokercast presented by runitonce.com.
Okay, people, most of the kittens have perished. There are a few left you can save, though, and here's how to do it. Get involved with the Pokercast by emailing your questions, suggestions for the show, or even record a sound clip. Adam will be using the best ones on the air. Well, let's face it, probably the worst ones as well. I can see you there at your computer. Send an email right now. Totally disagree with one of Adam's takes last week? Send an email. Love last week's interview? Email. Want to know how much cash Adam has on him right now? Email. Pokercast@2plus2.com is the address. Ship the funny to Adam today.
Hey, Pokercast fans. Don't forget to follow me, Adam, and Ross on the old social medias. I'm at TChanPoker on Twitter, and once in a while I'll even talk poker if I'm not trying to hit him in the face. If Adam ever gets home from hockey practice, he tweets at Pokercast Adam, and Ross is at Pokercast Ross whenever he's sweating the Chicagos. Hit us up and try to keep it to 140 or less. I mean, fewer.
Hey, poker fans, don't forget about the 2plus2.com digital magazine. Each month, a wide array of poker professionals and media write fascinating articles about the game you love. Want to learn about big blind versus small blind hand ranges? How about optimal Jeopardy daily double strategy? Topics like those and many others are covered every month. Head on over to 2plus2.com to see what the magazine has to offer this month.
What's up, guys? If you're serious about online poker tournament statistics, you got to check out sharkscope.com. They've been the leader in online poker tournament tracking for over 10 years. If you've ever had the experience of being in an online tournament and being worried that your opponent might be a dangerous shark, sharkscope.com will tell you. And your first 5 searches every day are free. If you log in with your Facebook account, they'll double that to 10 searches. So get on over to sharkscope.com, track your stats, and improve your win rate today.
Welcome back to the 2plus2 Pokercast, presented by runitonce.com. All right, guys, let's get into this interview with William Kassouf. Hang on for dear life. The man can talk. And let's bring him in now. William, welcome to the Pokercast.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
William, of course, this is the time of year where the World Series of Poker is on ESPN. New heroes and villains are being born all the time. And I almost feel like you were on your way to being a villain until you were saved by Jack Effel, I think, who might have turned you into a hero, I think, at some point along the way. And I want to jump in and talk about what happened on this week's episode of the World Series of Poker. And first, why don't we start about talking about the hand with Stacey Madison. You, in episode 3, you played a hand with her that we saw, and you made a straight flush. There was a lot of table talk, speech play, I guess, as you guys call it. And she folded, I think, pretty weak hand. I think she had ace, top pair maybe.
Yeah.
And then the big hand that everybody's talking about, of course, you had 9 high, got her to fold the overpair. So just take us back a little. Terrence and I talked about this on the show last week for quite some time. We're both on your side here. We're appalled at Jack's ruling to give you a penalty, and this is the kind of stuff that or at least I like to see in poker. It makes it interesting. But we're always wondering about the editing of the show and how much was taken out. Can you give us an idea of the history other than those 2 hands, maybe, with you and Stacey?
There wasn't much really between Stacey and I. Those were the 2 main hands. I think the camera crew were around my table the whole time. Obviously, we were on the outer table. We weren't the feature table, but I think the camera crew were recording every single hand because I was involved in pretty much every hand. I was one of the big stacks on day 5. I think at one point someone kept messaging me that I was like chip lead in the main event and Dan Coleman was second. So I was like, had a big stack on the table anyway. So I was like playing a lot of pots. Getting under the player's skin, maybe. They couldn't handle the speech play, the banter that I was having on the table. You might have seen from episodes 3 and 4, just the fun I was kind of like having like banter on the table saying, does anyone know what the maximum score with 3 darts is, kind of thing? And no one had a clue, so I had to educate them. 180!
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Just a bit of fun, just a bit of entertainment. I made the bet, I didn't really stall that much. Maybe I took an extra minute or so in making my decision before making the bet, but just to make it a bit of fun, I like to enjoy myself on the table. There's no needling, just a bit of fun, that kind of thing. As far as the Stacey Madison hands were concerned, I think those were the 2 main hands. The first big hand I played with her was the 9 high, and like you saw, both of them were actually 9 high. The first one was 9-6 of hearts. So obviously the straight, when I flopped the up and down straight flush draw and turned the straight flush. I had in terms of the actual hand, I think I've been having debates with friends as to why I check raise all in with a straight flush when I've got the absolute coconuts, as I like to call it. But the way the hand was played and the fact I'm out of position, she's bet into me on the flop and on the turn. And I'm thinking, well, she must have top pair here. She could have top pair with the King of Hearts, Queen of Hearts, could even have the Ace of Hearts herself. She could have a set or any kind of 2 pair. So I wanted to get the chips in on the turn. Effectively, there's so many scared cards to come on the river. If it comes another heart on the river, comes another straightening card, I'm not going to get paid. And if I play a stop and go there on the river, it just looks too strong. So I thought I'd try and make it look like a bluff, check raise all in for pretty much a pot-sized bet, and put it to the test and give it a speech for England and America. So obviously, yeah. we see the hand now. She's only got ace queen of spades, top pair, no redraw. She was never calling in the hand. But I still managed to convince her, and she even spoke out loud, said, I'm convinced I got the best hand here. And that's when she opened up to me, and I thought, oh, wow, I might actually have her here, and she's going to call off for a tournament life with whatever she has, and I got a straight flush, and she's drawing dead. But as it happened, she only had one pair. She was never calling, but she even admitted, I think I got the best hand here. So I tried to convince her in the same way. If you got the best hand, you got to call, right? So we're having a lot of banter now. She was like dwelling up, thinking about it. Eventually, she made such a big laydown. She laid down top pair. Wow. Anyway, so that was the history in that one. There was nothing much before that. That was the main highlight. That's where the camera crew showed that. If there's any other big hand there, I think they would have showed it prior to that with Stacey and I. But I think that was the first one. The second one is obviously the biggest one that you guys have seen on episode 4, the 9 high again. This time 9-6 offsuit. A lot of people have been asking how that hand played out because they've only seen the latter stages of it. They've only seen when it comes to the river. Basically, it was on my big blind. She'd opened fairly small, just over min raise, I think it was, in under the gun +2, I think she was. If I was big blind, I think there's two players in between us. So yeah, should have been under the gun +2. Yeah, she opened, everyone else folded, and I peeled with 9-6 offsuit in the big blind, as you do. I had a big stack, and I thought if I peel, see if I hit the flop, I'm in. If not, then I'm done with the hand, because I know she's going to be repping over pair. She could be bluffing with ace high anyway. As it happens, you see I flop a gut shot, 2-3-5, with 2 overcards and a gut shot. Okay, she made a small bet on the flop. So I thought, okay, I could peel here. She could have ace high at this point, ace king, ace queen. So I'm still live with a 6-9 as well as the 4 for the guttable. And if she has got an ace and the wheel comes in, she's got. She turns the wheel. I'll make a higher straight with a 6, so I thought I'm going to get paid off there. So I peeled. The turn came an 8. So I now got a double belly buster. Any 4 or 7 gives me a straight. I check, and she bets again. Now when she bets again, I know she's got an overpair. If she has ace king, ace queen, she's going to check behind here, take a free card, and she's not that kind of aggressive player. She's definitely protecting her hand. I put her in an overpair. She's got jacks, queens, kings, aces, whatever she has. I know she has a 1-pair hand. She's protecting her hand. That's fair enough. At this point, I got 9 high, but I got a double belly buster, so I improve on the turn. Any 4, any 7, so I call. The river comes a 10, offsuit 10, rainbow board. So now I'm thinking, well, I've missed now, but I've check call. Now there's more in the pot than she's got behind. There's like 700k in the pot. She's got 590k. So I'm thinking, okay, how can I get it to lay this hand? How can I win this hand? If I check here, I've lost the hand, 100%. She may bet, she may fold, but once even if I check and she bets river, I can't make a move then. It's too late because she's committed, and she's obviously convinced herself she's got the best hand. She's never folding. And obviously, if I check to her and she checks behind, I'm going to lose the hand. I've got 9 high. So the only way I can win the pot with 700k in there, and with her having 590k behind, was to make a move. So I made a kind of cheeky move, a quick speech, if you like, before I made the move. You let me get there, right? If you got 1 pair, I got you beat. You got aces, I got you beat. I want you to call. I'm all in. That's it. So I gave a few seconds speech like that. I'm all in. I got you beat. And then the whole commercial starts. And she's sitting back, and then she's in a bit of a quandary, what to do. She didn't know what to do. The camera crew are filming all the whole time. I noticed the camera crew are there. I used them as a prop. You've got to use every weapon you have and every edge that you have on the live poker game. So I saw the camera crew there, so I used them as a prop. Said, listen, you don't want to do anything crazy now. You don't want to bust out with the whole camera crew watching the whole world, do you? Yeah, that would be embarrassing. So I put the pressure on in that way, indirectly, using the camera crew as a prop. That you don't need to make a move. I said, listen, I'll keep it friendly. If it helps you out, if you fold and show, I will show. It's as simple as that. I'll keep it friendly. You fold and show, I'll show. So as if to say, you don't need to go broke in this hand. The whole camera crew is watching. The whole world is watching this hand. You don't need to go broke. If you show your hand, I will show my hand. I'll keep it friendly. Simple as that. I'm man of my word. So she knew that. So she knew that she was going to see the hand anyway. I've shown the hands in the past. I'm keeping it friendly. I'm having a lot of banter on the table. I'm enjoying myself, entertaining, etc. So she knows she's going to see it, but she's still convinced that she's got the best hand here. So I've got to do everything in my power, trying to play as much as I can within the rules, but with everything in my power to win the pot. That's the idea in a poker game. You're there to win every pot you play. So I've made this move now. Obviously, I've shoved all in with 9 high like a boss, and I need to get her to fold a big hand. I know she has an overpair on this board, so I've got to do everything in my power to get her to fold. And then I'm discussing like, if you've got an overpair, I want you to call. I've got aces beat, and this is where the dealer interrupts and say, you cannot discuss the contents of your hand. I said, I didn't discuss the contents of my hand. Discuss the contents of her hand. You cannot discuss the contents of her hand. You can't say anything that influence any action. I said, okay, fair enough. Whatever you got, I want you to call. I said, sir, you cannot say that. I said, what do you mean? I didn't discuss the hand. You said you want her to call. I said, yeah, what's wrong with that? I want her to call. I've got her beat. You cannot say that. I said, why not? That will influence the action. I said, that's the whole point of speech play. What do you mean? I can't tell her I want you to call? He goes, you cannot say that influence the action. She goes, call the floor. How come he's not getting penalized? He's been repeatedly warned that he can't tell me he wants me to call, and he's still doing it. So they call the floor. The guy comes over. Before the floor comes over, I repeat to her one more time to get it in her mind. Listen, if you fold and show, I'll show. I'll keep it friendly because I know what the floor is going to say. They're going to tell me to shut up and pipe down. And I can't say a word. So before they come around, I have to quickly get in and again. You fold and show, I'll show. I've got you beat. You'll see it anyway. The floor comes over. Right, that's it. One more word out of you. I'm going to give you a penalty. I thought that's out of line because she's eyeballing me. She's looking at me. She's now engaging conversation with me. I think I've got you beat here. I think you just want to bust me like that. I don't want to bust you, sir. One more word, you have a penalty. Right. Now Jack Effel comes over. He comes in quite late into the hand. This has been going on for several minutes now, over 5 minutes. That she's tanking. She's calling the floor. I recently learned that she runs and co-owns the WSOP dealer school, so she was more concerned about the decisions of the officials, the decisions of the floor staff, how they're handling the matter, what they're saying to me. She even had the audacity to try and get my hand killed during the hand. How's his hand still live? How's his hand still live? She was saying, trying to get my hand killed, effectively because I repeatedly defied the dealer who said you cannot discuss the concept of your hand or say anything that's influencing the action. Because I said to her, I've got you beat. If you got aces, I've got you beat. I want you to call. That was influencing the action. She tried to get my hand killed because of that, which I thought was quite low considering her position, her standing, and the fact she runs a WSOP dealer school, but that's another issue. So she's more concerned basically about the floor staff and their decisions. Obviously, they knew who she was. Jack Effel then came over with all the commotion. He came late into the hand, so he hadn't seen everything that has happened or heard what anything was said. He said, I'll handle it from here. He was standing over my left shoulder. And that's where it got a bit silly because I told you, I couldn't say another word or get a penalty, right? This is what the other floor staff said, not Jack. But Jack had come over. I don't know if he'd heard him say that, but obviously he was aware that I couldn't say another word, or otherwise I'll be in an orbit penalty. So at this point, she was still talking to me, and I can't say a word. So now I've got to do everything in my power to try and win this pot without saying a word, because he said one more word out of you, you're going to have a penalty. So I thought I'd improvise, even though it might be considered as a bit cheeky maybe on my part. I thought I'd improvise. What can I do here to win this pot? How am I going to convince this lady to fold her hand, convince her I've got the best hand because I've got 9 high here. Obviously, I'm not just going to sit here in silence and hope she calls. Obviously, I want her to fold. So I've got to improvise. I used my hand gestures, but I did exactly the same and told her exactly what I told her before I was told that I couldn't say a word. So they said I couldn't say a word. But before they told me I couldn't say another word, I was telling her, if you fold and show, I'll show. So that's exactly what I did with my hand gestures. I pointed to her. If you show, I'll show. I pointed to her and then did that with my hand. I know you probably can't see my hands right now. You show, and I pointed to myself and I said, I'll show. You show, I'll show. That's when Jack Effel said it. Sir, I don't want to see you move. Don't say anything. Don't do anything. I said, I didn't say anything. I said, don't do anything. Just sit there. Let the lady make a decision. I don't want to see you move. I thought, what's going on? Are we playing musical statues now? What do you mean don't want to see me move? I can't talk. I can't move. Well, this is ridiculous. I think Daniel Negreanu piped up this point. How dare they say that you cannot talk? They have no right to say you cannot talk in the hand. And then Jack Effel to go and say, do not move. You can't talk. You can't move. What's going on? It's absolutely ridiculous. But I thought I didn't want to, go against the officials. I told her don't talk, don't move. So I couldn't say anything. So that was effectively the hand gestures that I did. If you fold and show, I'll show. Some guy calls a clock in the meantime. I think she got a bit annoyed that the guy called a clock. You serious, man? You called a clock on me? Wow. And then she was a bit frustrated about that. So that got to her a bit as well. And I think the whole commotion, the emotions going through the hand and all the confusion and me telling her, I've got you beat and you show, I'll show. You're going to see it anyway. And just trying to convince her in that way that I had the best hand. All this confusion with the camera crew watching and the pressure being on. She was on the clock. She had like 10 seconds left to act. She didn't want to do anything silly for a tournament life. She wasn't going to call off. I was convinced after she took 2-3 minutes, she was not going to call off her whole stack with one pair. I know exactly what she's got. I don't know if it's jacks, queens, kings, aces at that time, but 100% she had an overpair. But she's got a 1-pair hand. That's the bottom line. And I knew after 2 minutes, there's no way she's calling off her whole stack on day 5 of the WSOP main event with 1 pair, because I can have any 2-pair, any set, which is effectively what I'm repping. As far as it's hard to believe the way I play the hand, check call, and then jam the river. But I could have played that way. I'm quite, erratic with my plays. I mix it up. They find it hard to play against me, and I always confuse them. Being unpredictable is a key trait to have on the poker table. So she was confused. She's giving me maximum credit that I could have any 2-pair or any set here, and she didn't need to call off with a pair of queens. But obviously with the whole delay and the whole commotion, she wanted to milk the most of the TV time, I think, in terms of like the rulings and how come this guy hasn't got a penalty. The fact that Jack Effel was there and she obviously knows him, he knows her, and I don't want to say if that influenced his action or his ruling in any way, but I think it just happens to be a coincidence that she calls her floor and she runs like a WSOP dealer school, and the fact that Jack Effel knows her. And then the whole issue later on after she folds the hand, I'll come on to the issue with the Jack Effel and the penalty with regard to the inverted commas taunting, which I thought was absolute rubbish. But eventually she has 10 seconds left to act. She eventually folds pocket queens. I said, do you want to see it? You sure? Because yeah, of course I want to see it. I said, there you go. Double gutter, I missed. Never mind. 9 high, like a boss. Big heart of a lion. That's it, right? So come with me. So I went to speak to Jack Effel. That was the end of that hand. So I'm giving you a penalty. You were taunting her. You're 100% taunting. Excuse me, what do you mean taunting? I was just trying to explain to him. Excuse me. I was doing exactly the same. I was saying exactly the same thing to her as I had before I was told I couldn't say another word. I wasn't taunting. I was saying exactly the same thing. If you fold and show, I'll show. I saw what the rules were. You cannot advise a player to do anything, to call or fold. I wasn't advising her to call or fold. I wasn't telling him to do this or do that. I was simply using the hand gesture without saying a single word, because I told her I couldn't say a single word. If you fold and show, I'll show. That's all I said. There's no taunting, no malicious intent, no threatening behavior, no berating of the player. Simply, you fold and show, I'll show. That's what I tried to explain to Jack. Eventually, he let me have my let me get a word in and explain to him that's effectively what I was doing. So it wasn't daunting. Just you fold and show, I'll show. He turned around to the dealer and said, "This gentleman's on a 1-round penalty." I said, "What? Excuse me, sir? 1-round penalty? Listen, if you argue with me anymore and you don't go on the rail, it's going to be a 2-round penalty," which I thought was wholly unreasonable. Surely, hear me out, hear my side of the story, and hear from my position or what I was trying to say. I've just explained to you. It wasn't taunting at all. It was literally you fold, show, I'll show. Without it, although it might have been cheeky, I was told you can't say another word. I didn't say another word. I just improvised myself and used my hands to say you show, I'll show. That's all I did. So there's no taunting whatsoever. He wasn't having it. And then for him to say, if you haven't say one more word, it's a 2-round penalty. Absolutely ridiculous. The worst ruling I've ever seen. I think it's caused a whole Twitter storm. I think Daniel Negreanu's backed me. I was on a podcast with him recently. So he thought it was absolutely ridiculous initially that I was told that I couldn't even say a word. And then to say, don't move, I don't want to see you move. That was absolutely ridiculous. And then the third one, all in all, to sum it all up, if you say one more word, I'm going to give you a 2-round penalty. Absolute bonkers. And you think this was bad, I don't want to spoil it for the viewers, but if you think the 1 orbit penalty was bad on day 5, just wait till day 7, because that's when the fireworks are lit and it all kicks off in more than one way. I got threatened with a 3-orbit penalty, 3-round penalty on day 7, unheard of in any poker tournament anywhere in the world. Unreal. As it happens, I didn't get the 3-orbit penalty because I didn't push it that far, but I actually got threatened with a 3-orbit penalty when I was speaking to the players heads up in a pot, doing my usual speech play table talk. I got threatened with a 3-orbit penalty if I carried on doing what I was doing. So it was absolute joke. Almost like killed my game, because that was a big weapon in my game, big part of my game, a tool in my arsenal, if you like, or weapon in my arsenal. So to take that away from me effectively hindered my game. And a lot of people are half joking, saying you should sue the WSOP for it. They've cost you potentially a few $1 million here in terms of telling you how you play. So effectively, I'm saying, well, it's rightly so. I paid my $10,000. I should be able to play with my chips how I want. These guys have paid their $10,000. They can play how they want. I'm not complaining how they play or how they don't play. They've got no right to tell me how to play. And likewise, Jack Effel has no right to tell me how I should or shouldn't play my game. As long as I'm playing within the rules, I can play how the hell I want. I bought him for my $10,000. Let me play my game. What's wrong with you? So he's killing the game. Everyone's saying instead of WSOP, instead of stifling the whole speech play and the table talk, they should be encouraging it. If the game is to evolve for the better, for both the players and the viewers of this sport, then it has to be encouraged. It has to be brought back. It has to be allowed in heads up pot. And I know that they've improved it slightly in the WSOP, with Daniel Negreanu mentioning only if you're closing the action, you can effectively do speech play and table talk and talk about the contents of your hand. But I think a lot of the rules here in the UK, a lot of the tournaments, and in fact, the majority of the poker tours that I play in, especially the Grosvenor UK Poker Tour here in the UK, the GUKT, one of the well-known, well-respected tours here in the UK, anything goes. Once you're heads up, you can say what the hell you want. You're not, as long as obviously you're not threatening or berating any other players. In terms of the actual contents of your hand, you can say the exact contents of your hand. I've got king of diamonds, queen of clubs. It goes to showdown. The guy calls your bet, and you show the king of clubs, queen of diamonds, whatever, exactly what you said you had. There's no penalty. You win the hand, and it's up to your opponent, effectively, end of the day, to decipher from the information you're giving them as to whether they want to believe you or not, whether you have got the king of clubs, queen of diamonds in your hand. So that puts your opponent to the test. The whole point of speech play, the whole point of the psychological element of poker, the whole point of getting into your opponent's mind, convincing them that you've got the best hand when you don't, etc., and vice versa, telling them what you have, doing the whole reverse psychology. Why would they think that you're telling them the exact hand that they've got? Does he really have that hand? Does he want me to believe he has that hand? Why is he repping to me that he's got this hand? So this
well,
is
that's the Jamie Gold rule, right, William? I mean, you think a couple of years ago, Jamie Gold did that on his way to victory. He told everybody we had most of the time. So it seems like there's this need to protect everybody in the tournament from somebody who's very good at this.
Right, that's what I think Daniel was arguing about, and he thought it's absolutely rubbish. Protecting every player, you're there to play your game. You're using it as a weapon, a tool, if you like. This table talk, and you're using it to your advantage. And like he's saying, it's not like you're using steroids, you're using illegal drugs to do your speech play, and this is giving you some extra power or performance. On the table, it's a skill that you have. It's a talent, if you like. It's a tool in your arsenal. It's a weapon that you have that you use on the poker table, which is legal. There's nothing illegal about it. Table talk is allowed. Whether people are saying I'm controversial, I push the boundaries. Going on to that point, off the table, when I was on my one-round penalty, I did speak to Jack about it. I think it's a bit ridiculous. I explained to him it wasn't taunting. I'm not that kind of guy. There's no malicious intent in what I say or do. There's no taunting. There's no threatening behavior. There's no berating of any players. It's not my kind of style. Some people have likened me, he talks a lot at the table. He's just like Tony G. I think they quite use that quite loosely. I'm nothing like Tony G because I don't threaten anyone. I don't berate anyone on the table. It's not my style. On the contrary, a lot of people are like referring to me as like the British version of Daniel Negreanu. I like to get reads off my opponents. I like to talk a lot at the table. I like to do a lot of table talking. And I like to enjoy myself at the table. I like to have fun. That's the bottom line. It's a live poker game, end of the day. You're sitting with 8, 9 other players for like 12, 13 hours a day in the World Series Poker main event on a 2-hour clock. I'm not going to sit there in silence for 12 hours, putting my hoodie on, my headphones on, and saying nothing for 12 hours. It's just not my style. I would never play poker that way, and I'd quit the game if I was forced to play like that. So
William, I want to talk about the strategy, and I have a million questions to ask, of course, but I want to ask you about your strategy. So you'll talk to an opponent when you're trying to get them to fold, obviously, and you'll try to get them to call by talking to them. I know you don't want to give away all the trade secrets necessarily, but what kind of thought process goes into your head when you're trying to talk someone into a call versus when you're trying to talk someone into a fold, and how might they differ?
Well, I think it depends on the player as well. If it's all player dependent and situation dependent, and board texture dependent as well. In terms of the hands I'm trying to rep, the action that was taken pre-flop, what I said pre-flop and what I said on the flop and turn, etc. Before I eventually give a speech, if and when we get to the river. So it all depends on what happened during the hand, the player I'm up against. Generally speaking, I seem to have a knack of convincing people to call when I've got the best hand and convincing them to fold when they've got the best hand. That's the long and the short of it. Easier said than done. But it just seems to come naturally to me. I seem to enjoy myself doing it. I'm talking a lot on the table. One hand I could play 7 deuce, and the next hand I've got aces, and I'll play the same way, give the same speech, make the same moves, and they wouldn't know that they're second guessing all the time. The only way they find out is to call, just to shut you up, or just to see it. I have to call to see it, because they hate for me to show the bluff, because I've given them the rub down for the next 10 minutes. If they show the bluff, and they'd hate that, they'd rather pay me off than hear the rest of it from me and get the rub down from the rest of the table. Oh, look, he told you had king queen. How can you fold? Look, he's got king queen. He showed it. So rather than them looking like a fool, I think that gets to them a bit more. I think the whole ego thing and the shame of it, if they folded to a bluff. So I think they'd rather pay me off and say, oh, nice hand, if they did lose a hand, rather than fold to me and I show a bluff like king high or 9 high, like you saw here, and the whole table's laughing at them and thinking, oh, why did I fold to this guy? I can't believe I folded. So I seem to get a lot of calls because of the way I play, the way I'm talking all the time. He can't have it every time. It's impossible for him to have it every time. The key is obviously to have it when they call you. When they call you, just make sure you have it when they call you. That's it. But a lot easier said than done, obviously.
Yeah, that's
worked for me over the years. And like I said, it's all situation dependent, player dependent. So I give different speeches as to obviously whether I want them to call or whether I want them to fold. I'm obviously I'm going to act really weak if I want them to call, and act really strong if I want them to fold. But I've got to mix it up. I can't do the same emotions, can't do this, act the same way effectively when I am bluffing and when I'm not. So I have to mix it up.
And you can't do it when different people are going to take it different ways, right? So it's really interesting. In this episode as well, there's a hand you play against Tony Gregg where on the river, he's got king high, you're in position with jack high. The river, he checks to you, you bet with jack high. You've got to obviously have no choice but to bluff here. Tony, it's about a third of his stack left. I don't think he had a big stack. I think he had like 600K. You bet close to 200. And you bet and you started talking similar to what you did with Stacy. And as soon as you did, it seemed like, and again with the editing, but it seemed like he snap called with king high for a third of his stack, which was really interesting to me because it seemed like Tony picked that tell up on you maybe.
Yeah, I think Tony was definitely one of the stronger players on the table. It definitely wasn't a snap call. I think obviously with the editing and the amount of time they have to broadcast it, they have to shorten everything down. Even with the Stacey Mattison hand that went on a lot longer than you guys saw on the actual broadcast. Even Tony Gregg, he thought about it, and I was doing the speech, etc. He didn't snap call, but no, it's a good call from him. It was a fairly small pot. I think I made a small C bet on the flop, and it went call, and then it was check on the turn, and then I think I bet the river. I made a small bet on the river, and obviously that's the only way I can win the hand. But the way the hand played out, the hand doesn't make sense unless I've got 2-pair or river 2-pair or something like that, because it's gone check on the turn. But I had to take a stab at it. I had a big stack at the time. I thought I'd put the pressure on. But he's a great player. He's one of the better players on the table. That didn't go until that was one hand where he made a good call. The hand didn't make sense. Any ace high, king high was good. He put me on a busted straight draw, which is pretty much what I had. So yeah, it's a good read from him, good call. But I think there was a couple of
that's
I had against him.
Do you think about when you're in a hand against Tony Gregg in a hand against Stacey? Let's say you bet on the river, maybe just don't say anything, or do you take the same approach to all the players?
I think sometimes it's a different approach to different players. I think some players are easy to manipulate, if you like, easier to like get under their skin, easier to convince them I've got the best hand, or easier to convince them that I'm bluffing when I'm not. So some players I find it a lot easier to do the speech play or table talk against. Some players it's a little tougher, but it doesn't mean I'm going to back down. I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to be relentless. Give the speech in every hand to every opponent in every situation. Do whatever I can to win the pot, because that's the end of the day. That's all part of the game, and that's what you should be trying to do. So yeah, it worked to great effect against Stacey Mattison. I think the hand that I played against the straight flush, I think a lot of people asking, why didn't you show the straight flush? If that was me, I've only had once a straight flush in my life, I'd show it, but I didn't need to show it. But the camera crew were there. People are wondering, how are they seeing your hands? You haven't even got the RFID or the actual table where they're showing your hands. How can they see your cards? So I explained to them, the camera crew were there. After each hand was over, they effectively looked at any player's hands that they wanted to, just to themselves without showing the table, and then obviously they showed that and put that on the broadcast. So that's how they showed the hand. So I was wary of the fact when I had the straight flush against Stacey Mattison that the camera crew were there. I didn't need to show the table, so I knew the camera crew were going to see it anyway, and you guys were going to see it at home. So I thought I'd let them see it and said, wow. So I'm making most of it like I made a big move there, like I'm putting the pressure on, like I'm bluffing. I'm trying to bully the table with my big stack. So let them think I'm bluffing. So when the camera crew went away, I said, yeah, guys, I had a straight flush. They had 9-6 hard. I had a straight flush. I had it. No one believed me. Why would they believe me? I told them exactly what I had. I had a straight flush. She was drawing dead. She was like, no way you had a straight flush. No way. So the whole table was convinced, no way I had it. He's chatting absolute garbage here. There's no way he's got it. But they've seen it now. Wow, he had it. Yeah, well, it's too late now, isn't it? But anyway, the whole point of that is I didn't show it. Let them believe that I'm bluffing. I had nothing. I was trying to get her off the pot. I was making a move with absolute air or a semi-bluff, even though I had the absolute coconuts. So that that built up an image for myself that played right into my hands, because a few hands later, I won 2 key pots against 2 other guys. Well, I say key pots, but 2 like half decent sized pots, nothing as big or as blasé as the one against Stacey Mattison with the 9 high against queens. But effectively, I think I had ace-6 in one hand. I think you saw the hand against, I forgot the guy. It was a US pro. His last name began with G, I think. It wasn't Gross or something like that. Goff or something. He sat down anyway, and I had trip aces by the river, and he paid me off with 2-pair, like kings and aces with a whatever kicker. I think he turned a flush draw, the king with a flush draw, and then I rivered trip aces. And I gave him the same speech, and he paid me off. I think I did the speech, like I bet 345k on the river. So I'm thinking 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So I'm doing all this showboating, having a laugh. So I bet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 345k is what I bet on the river. He only thought about it for literally about 10, 20 seconds, and he called. And I showed trip ace and won the hand. So that was one of the things, that other players had seen on the table, that they would pay me off because of my loose image, because of my plays beforehand, and telling players I had a straight flush, I shoved all in with check raised all in with a straight flush. No one would believe it, and that's what got me paid off in subsequent hands. So I think that's what helped my image on the table to effectively win pots like that, enabled me to bluff further pots because I'm a dangerous player at the table. They didn't know one hand I had it, next hand I was bluffing. Like you saw, one hand I got 9 high, the next hand I got trip aces. So they're always second guessing all the time. They don't know where they are in the hand. The only way they can either call if they want to hear a call just to see the hand, or just fold and risk getting the rub down from the table that they folded the best hand. So that's the way it goes at the table, and that's a big part of my game, a big part of my strategy. in terms of getting into my opponent's mind. Some people let it get under their skin. I don't go out of my way to needle any players or berate or threaten any players at the table. It's not my style, but I just play my game, love to enjoy myself at the table, maybe do a bit of showboating on the table and have fun. But end of the day, there's no malice involved. There's no malicious intent or any kind of like threatening behavior like that. Just playing my game. But some people choose to go on Super Donkey Tilt because they're not used to all this like table talk, this banter, and it's like, this guy's so annoying. It's like doing my head in. I can't take it anymore. And well, that's down to them. If they can't keep their emotions in check and let their emotions get the better of them, they're never going to be a good poker player, in my opinion. And bottom line is, I say this to players all the time on the poker table who say, won't you shut up? You do this all the time. You're doing my head in. I said, listen, not being funny, but if you can't take the speech play and the banter on the live poker table, you shouldn't be playing live poker. You might as well sit at home in your underpants, click on the mouse button and play online, because that's all you're good for. You're not good enough to play live poker. Simple as. So it's all part of the game. If you can't adapt to every player you play on, if you can't adapt to all the players that are on your table at any one time, how do you expect to go deep in a tournament and progress further? So that's my point.
I guess one thought, sorry to interrupt you, William. I guess one thought that I have on that topic is there's sort of a belief, first of all, I don't think you violated any rules, and Adam and I discussed this, and we thought that Jack was out of line on a penalty. But is there a point at which, if a person is in the tank trying to make a big decision, that person is, ought to be afforded some silence or some sort of thought? I know that, for example, if my neighbor is next to me in a hand and I'm not in the hand, that they're facing a tough decision, I try not to sort of talk over them. Like say if I'm in the 3 and the person making the decisions in the 4, I try not to have a conversation with the 5, because this person in the 4, we're cross talking over them. Is there any sort of consideration given to the thought that maybe this person deserves some time to think, or you think it's all's fair in this poker game, and that if you can manipulate them into folding with your talking, that's within the ethical bounds?
Well, I think, like I mentioned before, I think it's all part of the game in terms of the speech player. I try to give them the speech and do everything in my power to win the hand. In fact, get them to call when I want them to call, get them to fold when I want them to fold is the bottom line. So I have to do everything in our power. I think the more I talk, the more it confuses them. They don't know where they are in the hand. I'm constantly talking. They can't think. I think, well, this is part of the game. If you can't make rational decisions or block me out or ignore me from what I'm saying and then think about how the hand was played out rather than listening or not listening to what I'm saying, then you should improve your game in that way and analyze the situation for what it is rather than thinking or listen to what I'm saying or not saying. But going on that point, if a player does turn around and say, listen, can you please give me a moment? Can you please be quiet? I want to have a moment to think about it. Then I respect that. I've told them, fine, okay, fair enough, that's fine. I didn't mean to offend you, but fair enough. You can think as long as you want. So I've said up to that point, whatever I had, and I've got you beat, I've got this, I've got that, I know you've got this hand, I want you to call. So I've said all that, but if they take a moment out and say, listen, please, can you just give me one moment to think about this hand, then I'll respect that and I'll give them the time to think about it. But up until that point, if they say nothing and they're generally getting pissed off and they're generally like shouting abuse at me across the table, will you shut the F up, man? What the and literally abusing me, I'm not going to back down. And why should I take the verbal abuse from them? I'm playing my game. This is part of the game. If I'm getting under your skin and I'm winding you up and you're not going to be able to make the right decision because I'm effectively speeching you into calling or into folding, then that's part of the game. If you can't play with me, then just deal with it. Then just give me your chips and get off the table effectively. But bottom line is, if someone does ask me to give them the time to think about the hand and please be quiet, then I've respected that and I have shut up and I have let them think about it. But other players are completely flipped out and they're starting abusing me across the table. I'm not going to sit there and take it after that and just take the abuse and shut up because they're telling me to F this and F that. So that's when the floor is called, etc. Then they get wound up, and eventually, I think by calling the floor and then them getting what they want, I think it winds them up even more. The pressure's on them. Someone else calls a clock on them, which is exactly what happened with the Stacey Maxson hand. And she wasn't able to think logically about the hand or the actual the decision that she had to make in the hand, more about the ruling and the commotion and everything that was happening around the table, the ruling and the floor stuff, etc. So it's all part of the game in the day. But if someone does ask me to pipe down and be quiet to let them think, then I'll give them that. I'll give them credit, and then I'll shut my mouth at that point and let them think for what it's worth. But up until that point, I'm going to say everything in my power, do everything in my power to win the pot, no matter what. I'm playing within the rules. I'm not breaking any of the rules. Speech play, table talk is a big part of my game. So I'm going to convince them to do everything in my power to win that hand, whether it's wanting them to call or wanting them to fold. So I'm going to be relentless. Some people call me Will the Tilt Kassouf because Relentless is my middle name and Tilting Top Pros is my game. But it just seems the way it goes sometimes. But that's just my game on the table. And the bottom line is there's no malicious intent and there's no threatening or berating on the table from my part anyway. So yeah, that's just part of the game, and that's how it is.
Okay, so let's take it back to the penalty, William. You're a lawyer, so I'm sure you can see that no matter what everybody thinks, and I think we're all in agreement of that it was out of line of Jack to give you a penalty in this spot. The fact is that the goalposts aren't very well defined at all, and the rules that they have built in at the World Series of Poker leaves enough room for Jack and Floorman and even the dealer who was telling you can't say how much is in the pot. I mean, so they have these rules set up so that they can take things that they don't like and put them into the rules and issue you a penalty for taunting when clearly there was no taunting. So my question really is, given that, and I'm sure you knew this before you started, is you're gonna face the wrath no matter what, and there's really nothing you can appeal to because the rules are so vague. So to stay within those rules, it becomes quite difficult for you.
Yeah, indeed. Just like working in practice as a lawyer, the rules are there, they're clear in black and white. But at the end of the day, it comes down to interpretation. How do you interpret that law? How do you interpret that rule? And it all comes down to the individual, how you interpret it. The way Jack Effel would interpret it, the way I would interpret it would be completely different. The way you would interpret it, or Ross or Terence, either of you guys, the way you would interpret a specific rule all comes down to the actual individual. But the rule is there. It's set in black and white what the rule is. And I think he went OTT in terms of the actual ruling, saying it was taunting, like I mentioned before. I don't know if it was the fact that because she runs a WSOP dealer school, the fact that she was female, a lot of people have pointed out, had it been against a male, another man, I don't think he would have probably called the floor in the first place. That was breaking the rules. And secondly, he definitely wouldn't have felt that he was being taunted by me. And I don't think Jack Effel would have given that effective penalty for saying I was taunting the guy. There's no way there was any taunting there. There's no malicious intent. There's no insulting or berating of any other player on the table. It's literally with my hand. I said, if you fold and show, I'll show. That's not berating.
You could actually make the argument that every time somebody shows a bluff, it's a taunt. I could make that argument. You happen to do this, and you did this with the large preamble, and that's how I think maybe Jack could construe as taunting. Like, look, I have 9 high sort of thing, but I don't know how many times I've been shown a bluff after making a tough laydown on the river. If they gave penalties for that, every time somebody showed a bluff, half the field would be setting out.
Yeah, I mean, some people have messaged me recently or gone on Twitter and said, but how can they be like berating this guy and effectively saying he's got a 1-round penalty and calling him an asshole when people like Phil Hellmuth are directly insulting and berating players and nothing happens to them whatsoever. So they're saying if Daniel Negreanu had made this play, if Phil Hellmuth had made this play, the camera crew would have been loving it. The floor staff hadn't even said a word. There'd be no issue of any penalty whatsoever. Nothing would have happened whatsoever. But because there's this British guy on the table where a bunch of Americans are complaining about him, talking in every hand, getting under their skin, giving them the speech in every hand, they couldn't take it. So they had to call the floor. She even had the audacity, like I said, to try and get my hand killed because I tried to say, if you got aces, I've got you beat. I want you to call. He's violating the rules. How is his hand still alive? I can't believe she actually went that low to say that, but that's what actually happened. So this is what was so ridiculous about the whole thing. Had it been like Hellmuth or Negreanu that did that, 100% nothing would have happened. The floor wouldn't have been called. There would have been no ruling, and 100% there was no taunting whatsoever. But because it was some other guy that had to make an example of me, apparently it wasn't just this isolated incident. There are other incidents leading up to this on previous days where I was talking a lot and in heads-up pots. I think a lot of people are getting agitated by it. He's doing this every hand. He's getting into my head. He doesn't let me think. I can't concentrate anymore. I'm making complaints like that, but I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not breaking any of the rules. It's all part of the game. They're not used to it. They don't like it, but that's tough. It's still within the rules. It's within the game, and it's part of my game. And it's a big part of my strategy, so why are they going to take that away from me? So up until that point, I hadn't received any penalty, hadn't received a 3, a 2, or even a 1-hand penalty. And suddenly, because I was taunting this lady, 100% taunting, that's why I got a 1 orbit penalty, which is the most ridiculous thing. And I think the fact that he said, you were taunting her, you were 100% taunting her, is what Jack Effel said. I think he got a bit too excited with the zeros on that figure, a bit like his paycheck. I think there's too many zeros on that figure, and I think I think at best it was 1% taunting at best. So to say it's 100%, yeah, having a giraffe, mate, no chance. No chance was 100%. It wasn't even 1% in my opinion. And I think, like you guys agreed, it wasn't taunting at all. So there you go. I think that's completely wrong. And I think because of the whole situation, the fact that she's called the floor, the fact that she's female, the fact that she works with WSOP, owns and co-owns and runs the WSOP dealer school, and she effectively trains the WSOP dealers. I think that was a massive influence in his decision to say you were taunting her. 100%, no chance.
Yeah, I think Jack clearly had an issue with it along the lines that just made it, fit to what he wanted to say. I think there's a bigger issue here, though, William, too. And as far as being in the U.S., a Brit being in the U.S., we talk a lot here about how boring poker becomes with everybody's got headphones on and nobody's talking at the table. There's no social aspect to poker anymore, and we talk about that does damage to the game long term. And correct me if I'm wrong, but in the UK, poker is much more of a social game. There's lots more table talk in live poker versus when you come here and everybody's sitting around the table not saying anything and it becomes less enjoyable. Now, you could argue that nonstop talking to somebody makes it less enjoyable, and for some it does. But I would think that, first of all, that this has more to do with the fact that you were sort of a fish out of water, so to speak.
Yeah, I think so. I think just generally, I think the Americans, they're under their skin. They weren't used to it. They weren't used to the table talk, the trash talk, as some people like to call it. I think I was just, like I said, I was just playing my game. It's a big part of my game to get effectively, if it does get under their skin, then that's their prerogative. If they can't keep their emotions in check and let their emotions get the better of them because one guy on the table is like talking to them and heads up pot, then so be it. Just deal with it. It's part of my game. If you can't take it, you shouldn't be playing in the World Series of Poker main event if it's going to get to you at that level. And I was surprised when I made it to day 7, playing with some of the best players in the world, multi-millionaires, multi-bracelet winners, and it was unreal how easy it was to wind them up. They went on super donkey tilt. They called the floor on me. I got threatened with a 3-0 whip penalty because of it. And Cliff Josephy even piped up and said, is this going to happen in every hand? He complained to Jack. He's going to do this in every hand. He's going to talk like this, heads up, in every hand. And I turned around and said, yes, every hand, every hand. Why not? It's allowed. It's within the rules. I'll do it every hand. Every time I'm in the pot with you, I'm going to do everything in my power to win that hand. What's wrong with that? I'll give you the speech in every hand. That's the answer. Jack Effel didn't even need to answer that question. So there you go. What's wrong? It's within the rules. I'm playing within the game. Jack Effel even admitted on camera, and I hope they show this because this is going to be a massive point to see if ESPN actually, I'm not say have the balls to broadcast it, but it puts Jack Effel in a really bad light. He said 2 things. And this is recorded on camera, off the table. This is while I was on my 1-round penalty on day 5 and also on day 7, I think it was. And he said, listen, William, you're a smart guy. You're a lawyer. You know exactly what you're doing. Your speech play strategy is working to great effect. You're getting under the player's skin. You're frustrating them and you're taking their chips. Whilst you're not actually breaking any of the WSOP rules, you're bending them and pushing them to the max, that you're forcing me to intervene for the integrity of the game and the sportsmanlike behavior on the table. I said, Jack, fair enough. I appreciate that. I appreciate the sportsmanlike behavior on the table and the integrity of the game, etc. But you have to understand that I'm here to play my game my way. Like you just admitted on camera, I haven't broken any of the rules. So why am I getting threatened with all-whip penalties? Why am I given a 1-whip penalty if I haven't broken any of the rules? He tried to he didn't want to answer that question directly. He shrugged it off. This was his discretion, how he had perceived it, how the other floor staff had perceived it. It came to a point where they thought, that there's a way that you do things in poker, like getting under your opponent's skin is one thing, but he's saying, it's being disrespectful. So he's using more of an equity rule within his discretion to give me a penalty. And in this instance, called it taunting, which is absolute rubbish, which makes him look a bit silly, if you ask me. But the point is, that's effectively what he had to say. He couldn't give me a direct answer why I was getting a penalty if I wasn't breaking any of the WSOP rules. And he went on further to say, and this is the crucial point, and I love ESPN to show this, but I don't know if they will. He said, word for word, your speech play strategy is too advanced for the WSOP rules. I said, thank you. I thought, thank you very much. I'll take that as a big compliment. Your speech play strategy is too advanced for the WSOP rules. And I thought to myself, as much as that's a compliment, wow, that's great to hear. Thank you very much, Jack. How can one player's speech play strategy be bigger than the World Series of Poker rules? It seemed absolutely ridiculous. I thought to myself, well, let's throw out the rule book right now. Let's rewrite history right now. Let's sit down, you and I, let's rewrite the rules of the WSOP right now. Let's do it. So it seemed a bit bizarre that he came out with that. It seemed like they didn't know how to handle me. The floor staff didn't know how to handle me, and the tournament directors, as well as the players. And the only thing he could think of at the time was, right, let's give him a 1-whip penalty for, taunting. Yeah, we'll cover it. We'll cover it with taunting, 100%. You 100% taunting. Yeah, 1-whip penalty. A what? Oh, you argue with me? If you argue with me, 2-whip penalty. Okay, that will get rid of him. And then I walked away. So, exactly.
So it seems as though... Yeah, so Will, it seems as though, I mean, there's sort of a consensus that there's no rule that's violated, and you're saying that Jack is pretty much admitted as such. But sort of as a player playing, deepest, the biggest tournament of the year, you're very deep, you've got a chance for life-changing money. Is there a sense in which you might think, well, in my own self-interest, because I don't want to get a 2-round penalty or a 3-round penalty or have something that will really harm my equity, maybe I should tone it down? Or is this a point at which you're almost saying, like, look, I'm taking a stand against this injustice, or this, you can't enforce rules that don't exist against me, or is it just that you think you're giving up too much by not, but you are clearly, you're aware yourself that you're pushing the envelope, you're pushing the boundaries, and that Jack and everybody else, they're, even if they don't have black and white rules to fall upon, they are human beings, and if they just don't like you, they may just make rulings against you. I mean, how much is that going all through your head in terms of how much to push the boundaries?
I think that definitely was a factor. That definitely happened in this instance in terms of that Stacey Matson hand. I thought the ruling, to say that I was taunting, 100% taunting, when I don't think it was even 1% taunting, and then to give me a 1-orbit penalty, I thought that was extremely harsh. I think even Norman Chad said that was harsh to give a 1-round penalty for that, considering I hadn't even been given a 3-hand, 2-hand, or even one-hand penalty beforehand. To give me a 1-orbit penalty or 1-round penalty was ridiculous, and to say it was taunting. So I think they used that, or he used his discretion to say, oh yeah, it was taunting, just to come up with something to say that to justify the 1-round penalty, because it's come up to this point where a lot of players have been complaining. I'm talking in every hand. They don't like it. It's getting under their skin. Who is this guy? Let's make an example of him, if you like. So we'll make an example of him and give him a 1-round penalty, which I think backfired against them. It's backfired against the WSOP TDs. I think it's created a whole Twitter storm with regarding that, and how ridiculous it was, and how they effectively abused their power and got the decision completely wrong. So I think that carried on throughout day 6 and 7, especially on day 7. I can't remember the exact details of what happened, but I was involved in a hand, and it was in the middle of the hand. I think it was against Matthew Moss. I'd opened with pocket 3s, just min raised, I think, in early position, and he jammed all in. And the actions folded to me. He was fairly short at the time after he's jammed, and I've got a decision to make. So I'm giving him the speech and the hand. Do you want me to call? I've got a big hand here. What, you want to flip for your tournament, like that kind of thing? Are you going to be shoving with ace high? I think you got ace, queen, ace, jack in this hand. So I'm thinking out loud, and I think either himself or someone else got involved in the hand. Come on, man, you can do this in every hand. Call the floor, because I was taking the time, I was giving the speech. I've got a decision to make. The guy's gone all in, man. What do you mean? I've got a decision for like a chunk or a percentage of my chips. I don't know exactly what percentage of my stack it was. I'm still facing a decision. They call the floor. Jack Effel comes over. I'm still got a decision to make. Before they even called the clock on me, Jack Effel's come over. He just stormed onto the table and effectively said, if this carries on, I'm going to give you a 3-round penalty. I thought, what? What are you talking about? I'm in the middle of a hand. You're going to come and tell me this now? You're going to be a 3-round penalty for what? If you carry on doing what you do, if you don't argue with me, it's a 3-round penalty. I thought it was absolute bonkers, absolutely ridiculous how it happened. Be interested to see how they broadcast it and edit it on ESPN. But that was one thing that happened on day 7. When there was only like 20 odd something left, 22 players left or something, to get threatened with a 3-round penalty on day 7. Unbelievable. Just for
so at some point though, William, does this throw you off your game when this stuff is happening? How much does this affect you? I mean, obviously you feel like you're in control of the table, but when Jack is standing over and you threatening you with 3-round penalties, are you thinking, well, maybe I'll just dial it back here, or are you now thinking more about Jack than you are about the hand that you're playing?
No, I was focused the whole time. I was like cool as a cucumber, if you like. I played it like it's $100 tournament. It didn't faze me. I think the way you've got to go to these kind of tournaments, you can't be fazed by the magnitude of the occasion, the players, or the caliber of players you're playing against. I didn't care. No disrespect to the players there on day 7 with 27 left. Some of the best players in the world. It didn't faze me. All due respect to them. I didn't care if they're the best players in the world, multi-millionaires, multi-bracelet winners. I was there to play my game my way. I was going to be relentless. I was going to give them hell. Play my game effectively to play to my strengths. And if that means speeching them in every hand, getting under their skin, putting them on tilt, getting their chips effectively just by talking to them, then so be it. We're playing for $8 million. I'm playing my game my way. If they want to shut their mouths and play for $8 million that way, so be it. I'm not complaining. But they got no right to complain about my game and how I'm playing my way to win my way effectively for $8 million. So it didn't faze me at all. I was cool as a cucumber, if you like. I think I even got called a clown by Cliff Josephine, one of the most respected players on the WSOP circuit and around the world. who I think is chip leader now in the main event. Good luck to him. But he even turned around. He said, "You're a clown, man. You're a clown." And he was having to go. And he completely lost it. I said, "Oh, thank you very much." Well, for me, I feel as if I'm in the circus playing here. You know, I feel as I'm in the circus. Is this the 10K main event? I joked with the dealer. So just having taken with a pinch of salt. I wasn't going to lower myself to their level, insult them back. They're, throwing insults at me. I even got called an idiot by Griffin Benga. He completely lost it. That's another hand. On the final hand, watch that one, because that's going to be one of the highlights of WSOP when Griffin Benga or Griffin Benja, whatever you call him, I didn't even know who he was at the time. I didn't really care. And he completely lost it. All I was doing was giving him a bit of speech. And I said, listen, I've got a big hand here. I had kings, and he'd 3-bet me. 4-bet me from under the gun, and I had to go with the hand, or I didn't. After I'd lost a hand previously with aces against ace-jack, blind on an ace-high flop against Gordon Vail, I was left fairly short-edged, and then I got the kings versus aces hand, got it in with Griffin Benga there. But he completely lost it as well, and I said to him, listen, I've got a big hand here, I'm not wasting time. I'm either all in or folding. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? You tell me. And he completely lost it. He couldn't take it, and he started shouting at me and pointing me across the table. This is verbal abuse. This is verbal abuse. You're an idiot. The bet's 5.6 million. Bam! And he slammed the table, and he completely lost it. What are you talking about, man? I'm just trying to get information. The bet's 5.6 million. What you gonna do? And he completely lost it. The whole crowd went wild. The atmosphere got a bit toxic. So he called me an idiot. Cliff Joseph, he called me a clown. I said, well, the way I'm playing here, I feel as if I'm in the circus playing it. Is this a 10K main event? So I just took it with a pinch of salt, playing my game. I was really cool, sitting sideways on the table, having a laugh, having a joke. I think it was Jared Blesnick as well, turned around to his rail, put his hands on the side of his head. I can't take this anymore. I can't take this anymore. I couldn't believe it. I thought I'm playing in a $100 comp against a bunch of amateurs who couldn't take a bit of banter and speech play on the table, and they completely lost it. And I thought this was hilarious. It's playing right into my hands. And just watch it on day 7. It all kicks off. The fireworks are lit, and there's liftoff. So it makes a great.
What do you think it is specifically about the way? Because you're right, and from what I've seen in your interview today, obviously it's hard to get a word in edgewise when you're going. But and is it the cadence? Do you think, like, what drives them crazy? Is it because there's nothing really mean-spirited from what I can see.
No, not at all. Like I said,
you're having fun, right? So it seems like is it the nonstop or the cadence because you talk really fast? I mean, what do you think it is that drives these guys crazy?
I think it's a bit of both. I'm constantly non-stop. I'm talking to them really quickly. They're thinking they can't think, they can't talk. What are you doing? What's he saying? Why does he keep going on about it? What am I doing? Has he got aces? Has he got kings? Why has he got ace king? So it's like constant. No. In your face. Just shut up, man. Just shut up. No, why should I shut up? It's part of my game. If I'm getting too good, so be it. Make the wrong decision. Effectively, what I want them to do is make the wrong decision. Whether it's to call or to fold, I want them to do what I want them to do. Effectively, without directly dictating to them what I want them to do, I'm effectively telling them what I want them to do. So that's the whole point of the game. That's the whole point of the strategy and the strategic aspect of the game and the psychological aspect. Psychological warfare, if you like, and getting into your opponent's mind, getting under their skin and influencing them in that way to make the wrong decision for most of their chips or even for their tournament life. So I think just speaking to them constantly, just non-stop, no, in their face, and they can't think, they can't talk, they don't know what to do, they don't know what to say, and that's what confuses them, that's what throws them off their game, that's what makes them make the wrong decision, and effectively what puts them on tilt and gives me more chips in the tournament. So it plays right into my hands.
Did you tilt any judges or fellow lawyers while in the court case when you're fighting court cases?
I don't know about tilt, possibly. If they, I don't know if they refer it to as tilt in the legal profession.
Yeah, of course.
But probably more annoyance more than anything, especially when I got my own way and convinced the judge that the client's not guilty. Must be a bluff, Your Honor. There you go, to get the client off. So no, everything went my way. I think. There's a common, if I could do an analysis between working in a court of law and being on the poker table. Basically, in a court of law, you're trying to use all the information you have, all the evidence you have before you to effectively outwit your opponent to convince the judge that your client's not guilty, for example. So that's what you have to do effectively on the poker table. You've got all the information in front of you. You've got the cards are one thing, the chips are one thing, the chip stack, the textures of the flop, turn, and river. And then you've got the tool and the weapon, if you like, of the speech play, the table talk. And you're trying to convince your opponent all the time. You convince them you got the best hand when you don't. Convince them that you're bluffing when you got the best hand. That's the trick. And the mind games, the whole psychological aspect, getting into your opponent's mind and convincing them that you have when you that you don't, etc., and vice versa. So that's the skill part of the game, and that's why it shouldn't be stifled by the WSOP. It should be more encouraged. That kind of thing, the skill element of the game, and make it more entertaining and more exciting at the same time. I think that's what needs to be brought back 100% in terms of the table talk at the table, especially when you're a heads-up pot. Anything should be allowed to go. I know they improved it slightly on WSOP when Daniel Negreanu mentioned it, saying, oh yeah, only if you're closing the action, you can discuss the contents of your hands, as in if somebody goes all in and then you've got a decision and you're last to act and there's no more chips in play, then you're allowed to talk about the hand and what you have and what what they might have and if they want you to call, etc. But I think like it is in the UK, I think because I'm used to it in the UK, maybe that's why it hit them hard in the US, and they didn't know what hit them. Anything goes when your head's up. As long as obviously no threatening behavior or berating any of the players, but as long as you don't disclose to show any of your cards, you can't physically show any one of your cards, otherwise your hand is dead. But without showing any cards, you can say exactly what you want in terms of the actual content of the hand, what you have, what you think they have, what you want them to do, and you can say you've got king of clubs, queen of diamonds, show that hand when it comes to showdown, and you win the pot with no penalty whatsoever. So I think that's great for the game. That's the whole psychological aspect of the game. That's the whole point of poker. That's the whole point of the.
Okay, but is there any need to protect people who don't find it fun and enjoying and will not play because of it, or the fact that it's a tournament? And I'm just playing devil's advocate. It's a tournament, so people need to be protected because from players who maybe are going to cross the line, etc. Is there any need for that kind of protection?
I think I had this discussion with Daniel Negreanu about this, and he said he thinks it's absolutely rubbish to protect yourself from other players. You're there to take their chips. There's no collusion involved. You're there to play your game. You've got to play to your strengths. If it's an edge that you have in the game by getting under your opponent's skin, by giving them a speech in every hand, by getting in their heads and can't let them think, then use that to your advantage. If you're going to be at risk of being called a jerk or a tosser, as he said, then so be it. If it's part of the game. If it wins you chips, if you're not breaking any of the rules, and you're doing nothing wrong, and it's playing to your strengths, and it's a big advantage for you, and it's working for you, then why not use it? If other people aren't good enough to use that or don't want to use that as part of their game, then that's up to them. But the players that do want to play to their strengths, players that do want to use speech play at the table to effectively win chips that way and play the psychological aspect of the game shouldn't be penalized and it shouldn't be stifled upon with regard to it. It should be more encouraged as part of the game.
Does it work not as well in the UK? Are people much better at dealing with this than maybe people in the US?
I don't know about dealing with it. I think some people still go on super donkey tilt when I play against them, but it's in fairly small buy-in tournaments.
I'm saying in general.
Yeah, $100, $500 tournaments, they're not used to it. Think, who is this guy? I've just come here for like a recreational poker game, and this guy's non-stop in my head. I can't deal with it. I wasn't expecting this in a live poker game. But I think the majority of the players have warmed to it. They love it. They think, oh, this guy's talking all the time, or he does my head in. But I think they warm to me. Excuse me. Initially, they think, oh, I'm like Marmite. Either you love me or you hate me. But I think a lot of people warm to me and realize, hang on a minute, there's nothing sinister in what he's saying or doing. He's not threatening anyone. He's not berating anyone. He's just enjoying himself. He's having fun at the table. He's a pain in the ass to play against because I don't know where I am in the pot with him. One hand, he's bluffing with 7 deuce. Next hand, he's got aces, and he makes the same play, the same move, the same speech. So they find it fascinating now that I can effectively get reads of my opponents to effectively use speech play as a massive part of my game, as a strategy to win chips in the tournament. And they've seen now, and they respect me more now from the results I've had in the UK and around the world. The results I have from a number of tournaments by employing this speech play that I do on the tables, whether it's a $100 tournament or a 10K buy-in tournament. I'll play the same way, the same speech against any player, anytime. Male, female, outer table, inner table, feature table, cameras or no cameras. I'm playing my game my way. And they all get the equal treatment. I don't discriminate anyone. Whoever gets involved in my pots is going to get the speech in every hand. So you can count on that.
Fair enough. Thanks, William. Really appreciate your time. Looking forward to seeing you go further here and maybe putting some of those top pros on tilt. It should be fun to watch. Thanks a lot.
Indeed. No, thanks so much for contacting me. It's been a pleasure.
Man, well, I mean, that was it's probably going to be one of the most polarizing, almost certainly the most polarizing characters of the World Series, maybe of the entire year. This is Pokercast number 430, and not all of them have I guessed, but I'm going to go ahead and put him in the William Kassouf in the top 10 most polarizing guests. I mean, I think it's one of these things where it's got, people are going to say, oh, it's good for the game, bad for the game. It's clearly got to be good for the game just because people are talking about it. And I can't, I can't think of the last time that people had this much to discuss about an ESPN World Series broadcast. I mean, sure, we've had storylines and, the two women potentially making the number 9. There's been cool things that's happened every single year. But one that has sparked so much debate and so much excitement I think I think it's great to have a guy like William Kassou on. There might be people who were absolutely tilted by this hour-long conversation we had with him, and
donkey tilted.
Super donkey tilted. Yeah, they're probably super tilted at the way he speaks and the way he doesn't let anybody else get a word in edgewise, and they might be upset with his antics at the table. But personally, I wouldn't want to play with him at the table, but I'm glad he's around, making things more exciting for everybody.
So a few things. First, I'm surprised. I mean, I get why people get completely tilted by the guy. Well, I don't get why they get tilted. I get why he can get under their skin. Now, I'm very surprised. I understand that amateurs, maybe Stacy, who hasn't played a lot, the Stacy Moulton, maybe she hasn't played a ton of, tournament poker. Maybe she has. I don't know. But in general, I can see him getting people off their game who aren't used to it or intimidated by the situation, that kind of thing. But for those guys like Cliff Josephine and Griffin, I kind of want to have Griffin on the show, so I want to ask him about it when we do. But for him to get to those guys to the degree that it sounds like he did, it kind of surprises me because, again,
it is a high stress situation, right? Like he said, he does this. He might do it in a $100 tournament, or he might do it in the main event. I think if he's doing it in a $100 tournament at the Stratosphere, and Griffin Bender happens to be in that tournament for whatever reason, I don't think he's just thrown off. I think it's the it's the fact that he is so natural, that William rather is so natural at doing this in such a high stakes, high intensity environment that really throws people off. And people, the stress of the World Series by itself makes people do crazy things on day 6, day 7. I can only imagine a guy like this just in your face, talking. It's that would throw off, I think, even a veteran.
But in real terms, how hard is it, especially for somebody who's been around, to, again, he's not mean-spirited, so how hard is it to just tune him out? Like, I understand at some point you're when somebody's talking to you, you're trying to use what he's saying to try and figure out what he's got and to narrow his range down and to see what his motivation is for talking. But at some point when you realize that he's overflowing me with information to the point where I'm not going to be able to parse through it, it can't be that hard to just ignore the guy and start thinking, using the information that you're going to use. That's the part that I don't understand. I get why he totally irritates people, and I'm sure people are going to be irritated by that interview, but I still don't I don't get why it tilts guys to the degree that it does.
Well, I mean, okay, like you're a hockey guy. I mean, how many guys have made their careers out of entirely just trying to tilt the star player of the other team, whether it's Ken Linsman or Esa Tikkanen or all of these guys?
But that kind of stuff is mean-spirited. You're terrible at hockey, right? That kind of stuff is totally mean-spirited. F-bombs left and right. This guy's just like,
true.
It's not the same level.
But it's not in it's the fact that it's the context in which it's behaved. Whereas normally 99% of the time, and we've talked about this, when you're in day 6 of the World Series, it's crickets in there. The only thing you can hear is chip clatter. And so when you're used to that, and every decision being made in total silence, and there's this stillness, and there's calm, and there's this, you can cut the tension with the knife, and then here's this guy who just like verbal diarrhea. I'm surprised that you don't think that that could throw even pros off of their game.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I know you can't put your headphones on because we're this deep in a tournament and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But still, I don't get why you can't just put your head down and start thinking through a hand.
Well, I mean, if it was to me, I mean, it's sort of like he said as much that if you were in a pot with him and you're kind of polite and say like, hey man, can you give me a second? I need to think this over for a second. He even said he's willing to kind of shut his mouth.
But I would never ever say that to him in a million years, because then he knows he's getting to me. I mean, I can just put my head in my hand, sit there and back up and think through hands. If I don't need a ton of time usually.
Well, then I guess you're the Zen master.
No, but I'm not even. That's the thing. Like, I'm not even close to the Zen master. But I guess, I don't know. It surprised me. I guess, you know what? I'd probably have to play with them for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours at a table to see if I could still do it. But it does.
You'd have to play the main event with him to do that, though, and we know you haven't done that in a few years. So every year I try to get you out. I know. Every year I try to get you out and play the main event or something like that, but you got the family life going on and stuff.
Well, it's not just, you know what it is for the main event? Like, I probably played my last main event 3 years ago. Not that I won't play another one, but the Canadian tax thing, just I'd see it as a non-starter.
Oh, but I mean, if there's one tournament, I mean, that's a good reason not to play the 2,500 six max. But I think the main event you can overcome a 30% vig.
Wow, really? Then you're saying that the people can have a 30% markup, no problem, snap like easily.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't sell myself at 1.3 for the main, but that's just me.
Yeah, no, I guess it bothers me to such a great degree that if I go and win, $8 million, 2.4 million's gone off the top of my right away. Boom.
That's totally fair. That's totally fair point.
That's why I don't play it. Honestly, that's 100% the reason why I don't play it.
I mean, I think that's the one tournament where you can justify it. But anyway, we're starting to get off topic.
Anyway, we're getting off topic.
I think he's great for the game. I'm glad guys like that are out there. We talked about this before. Breaking the hoodie and sunglasses stereotype. And it's like I said, like I wouldn't want to be at his table. I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, I think, but that doesn't mean that he shouldn't be able to do what he does. I also wouldn't want Phil Galfond at my table, playing perfectly against me. I wouldn't. Sure. I wouldn't want. There's a lot of people I wouldn't want at my table for various reasons, because they're really good at poker. He seems to be, or at least he seems to think he is, and he had some success this year, thinking that he's able to psychologically manipulate people with his table talk, and so that's why I wouldn't want him at my table, because it would probably drive me crazy too. And so you understand other people's points of view, but I'm glad characters like him are in the game.
I wonder how self-aware he is, though. I mean, I wanted to ask him, but I think we'd gone on long enough with it. But I wanted to ask him how aware he was, how he affected people at the table, because I'm not sure that he completely understands exactly the dynamic that he creates. He might, but it strikes me, and especially with that Tony Gregg hand, really kind of made me go, oh, wait a second, because, again, he bet the river and started talking the same act. And Tony, I think William said it wasn't a snap call, but called us a significant part of his chips off with King High, King 10 he had, and it seemed like Tony was pretty sure that he was good in that spot, which
William admitted. William admitted, yeah, like Tony's one of the best players at this table.
Right, but William didn't have.
I wasn't sure how he was going to respond to your question. I'm glad you asked the question, because I wasn't sure how he was going to respond, because he was saying like, oh well, whatever, like you miss some sometimes, but he kind of went out and said, yeah, Tony's a tough player. I did what I had to do, but it didn't work, and good for him. Yeah,
fair enough. All right, I think that's going to wrap it up for the interview show we do this week. Next week we're going to come back. The World Championship of Online Poker wraps up this Sunday. Terrence, you playing the main event?
That's a great question. I've been sort of thinking about that all week, and whether I'm still plus EV in this 5K buy-in field, with some of the best players in the world, and also a bunch of like random people who want spin and goes. So I don't know. I'm still up in the air about it. I'll be a game time decision whether I'm a healthy scratch or not.
Okay. Well, looking forward to hear, and maybe we'll get a couple of hands if you do play and go deep. Beginning of the week, let's try and fire out another show. Thanks so much to you guys for making some time this morning. William Kassouf, of course, for joining us, and you out there for listening. We will talk to you soon.